Fish Tank Live, presented by Van Horn Law Group and Casabella Design Group. Seth Levit, live from the Casabella Design Group studios. And I'm joined by the man with the best hands in the live podcast business, OJ McDuffie. Juice, I'm trying to look for the positives. We're going to your hometown.
Oh, man, there's nothing more positive than that, man. There's nothing more positive than going to Cleveland, man. The mistake on the lake, I mean, Green Road, Morrisville Heights.
I am a Green Road guy.
Yeah, I know you are a big Seth. You legendary in that area, man. He's probably the only white dude in that area, man, growing up. You know,
holding it down for the rest of us. That's
holding it down for you, man. And you fit in well, bro. Yeah, man. It's a great opportunity for these guys. I know we'll talk about a little bit more at the end of the show. But yeah, great opportunity to go there and try to find a dub, man. So I'm excited for my boys going to Ohio. And Big Seth, they're going at the right time of year. It's a good time of year.
They're right. Yeah. I mean, the weather's probably beautiful there right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's as beautiful as it gets in Cleveland for sure.
In Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland gets a bad rap, and we can talk about that later. But as always, it is Fish Tank Live. We are here with, of course, the producer with the best hair in the podcast business. He is the legendary Sevach. At some point, we allegedly are going to be joined by our buddy Chris Perkins, Sun Sentinel columnist, and the host of the Deep Dive with Perk podcast. You can't have Deep Dive with Perk without Perk. And right now we're trying to figure out how to have Fish Tank Live without Perk, but we'll get it figured out. And then the heart and soul of Van Horn Law Group, our guy, Chad Van Horn, hanging out, not Jeff Saturday, okay? For those of you who thought we had Jeff Saturday on the show, not Jeff Saturday. We'd rather have our guy, Chad Van Horn. And if you stick around long enough, he'll be here to answer all of your legal questions in the Van Horn Law Legal Zone. Gentlemen, it's another live. It's another loss, man. I don't like that. We need to break the cycle, and start. Is he here? He's here. Look, he's twisted.
There he is.
He's joined us. I'm getting notified. That's the only way to kick down the doors.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
I hurt my neck on that one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Only Chris Perkins could kick down the doors, come in sideways.
I know. What's going on there?
Well, he's in portrait. He's in landscape.
There we go. All right. We'll do it this way.
I mean, kind of. We'll just have to. Chris Perkins is in the house. He's diving in, and he'll be adjusting situations all day long. So, Perk, we were just picking up where, unfortunately, a familiar scene here with our Miami Dolphins this season. Another loss. Another disappointing loss, another game that the team had in its hands late in the fourth quarter, only to watch it kind of wilt away in dramatic fashion yet again. But even more dramatic was post-game. QB1 steps to the podium, as he always does. You know, there's nobody other than Perkins sideways. The entire apartment building is toppling over. Thank you.
Am I sideways?
Oh, you were.
Well, you were.
Okay, yeah. Okay, right.
Yeah, you were sideways. Skinny just Saturday. It's so good. So Tua steps up to the podium. Actually, I was really I thought he was doing a great job. I thought he was as accountable as we'd heard him all year. I thought he was kind of matter of fact. He was shocked, I mean, I thought that was like a really how you feel. He was shocked. I thought we got some honest emotion out of him. And then, Omar hits him with a woe is me. Do you start to feel like woe is me? And that threw him off a little bit, probably an expression that he hadn't used before. A rumor that Seth and Sevach were late to production meetings last week. It's just a rumor. Don't believe everything that you hear or read, Bill. So then Tua, all right, I got to stop beating around the bush. Tua discloses the fact that among the things that potentially could change and right the ship are that players need to either start showing up to or being on time to. He used the term player-only meetings, I think.
I think player-led, right?
Player-led meetings. Well, I don't know. That's one of the questions I know OJ and I had.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to that. But he creates a friggin' firestorm that you don't need when you're 1-5. I mean, that's the reality. This is a guy who's been high profile since he was in high school. He played at, premier university in college football at the time that he played there. He's been in the spotlight his entire life. He's a, top 5 draft pick for the Miami Dolphins, starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins the last now 6 years. and he just seems to kind of, man, put his foot in his mouth or say some things and what have you. And it's just Twitter blows up, Dolphins media blows up, Dolphins fan base blows up, national media goes off. Juice, I don't know about you and your former teammates, but I know some guys that you played with that definitely had a few things to say to me on text messages. They're still talking about it. I don't even know where to start, Perk. What were you were sitting in the room when he said it, weren't you?
No, I was not. Because I always go into the locker room when Tua talks, because usually Tua doesn't say anything unless he sticks his foot in his mouth. And that's what he did this time. And so, Tua is tone deaf. He needed to plead temporary insanity for that. You don't take private business and put it out on the streets. You don't put your teammates on blast like that. A high school quarterback knows that, but Tua was frustrated. He was very frustrated, and he didn't know where to go, but you don't go there. You don't go there. I mean, that's basic. And so, Tua has this communication problem where, when he said, I go home and I play video games with my kids, and I know what he meant when he said that like, if I have a bad day at the office, I can go home and my kids don't care that daddy had a bad day at the office. They just care that daddy is home, and it's kind of therapeutic. But that's not what he said. And that's not how it came out. And that's not how it was interpreted. And it's kind of like people sitting on the couch eating potato chips and show me the money. And it's just this line of things with Tua. And it's like, man, you should know better. I know for a fact that Tua has been counseled about this stuff, about how these things come off, how they're perceived, how you have to be careful about how you send the message, because the message might not be received the way that you intended it. So you have to be careful, but Tua is not careful. And this is what happened this time after the game. He said the right things today, but it's too late. It's too late, And so I know players are still salty a little bit about it, but they all want to put this behind them. I think this is one of those things in the locker room that they're going to remember it, and it's not going to be a big deal until it is. So Tua needs to watch himself.
I mean, it's a bigger deal? Can it be a bigger deal than it is right now? Like you can't, ESPN, NFL Network, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. He's getting killed.
Well, when he killed me a couple of times with some of the things he says. Big Seth, you guys know this. He killed me on the Green Bay game on Christmas.
Oh, you did not like that one.
Dude, that's why I stopped doing post, Perk. I had to stop doing post game, man, because he's gonna tell us to go home and have a Merry Christmas after you just ruined my Christmas, dog. you screwed, you bah humbug.
Juice was so pissed.
You threw 3 interceptions at the end of that game. My Christmas is already ruined, man. It's because you got all this money. You're going to go home and open presents and stuff, man. My presence was at the game, man. That really drove me crazy. Not to mention to show me the money. Show me the money really took me for a loop right there. I got it. You got it. You got the money. I get it, bro. But you know what? The people sitting in the stands, the ones that you're talking about that were eating pop, whatever they're eating at home, what I mean? They ain't got the $200 million you just got. Don't throw that in people's face either, man. So he continues to say shit that, you know what I mean, that that's going to get this type of reaction is bottom line with him.
I'll say this, and maybe in Tua's defense, the show me the money thing was a dare from a coach on the staff that they were joking around. Yeah. So, but Tua's got to have better awareness. There's people out there living paycheck to paycheck, sitting in the stands, and you're doing the show me the money thing. It was in poor taste. It wasn't Tua's idea. That's all I'm saying. But he executed the bad plan.
That's what we're talking about, Perk. Right. And somebody comes, you say, Perk, jump off that building that you've been complaining about. You gonna do it?
I'm gonna ask them how much, Juice, and then but you know.
No, but I
got medical insurance. I'm gonna just ask them how much.
Yeah, all right. You better have a whole life insurance, what you need to have, bro. And let me know your beneficiaries on that one.
Santa Claus. I don't care whose idea it was. You don't say it. Look, we can go back. You show me the money. What about look like money to me? Potato chips, right?
Yeah.
Who's on the couch eating potato chips? Right. What about the clicker? You got an NFL MVP with the clicker. It's easier to hold the clicker. I mean, it's just one thing after the next.
Right.
And then today he opens up with an attempt. Look, I know this, or I certainly believe this. Tua does not want to be a distraction to his team. I don't think he's about that. I don't think it is intentional, but it almost makes it worse. Like, I almost kind of wish you were trying to be an asshole. But the fact that you're 6 years into your NFL career playing the most visible position, the second most prevalent voice on an NFL franchise is the quarterback, right after the head coach. The fact that it just keeps happening. And then today he gives his opening apology, a public apology, but then he talks about it being misconstrued through the media.
Right.
If you have a live press conference that is unedited, where we can hear the questions and the answers and watch it from start to finish, it's not about being misconstrued. Everybody is watching it and interpreting it their own way. Now, someone might misinterpret or misconstrue and then write a column about it that's unfair or unreasonable, but the reaction is to what you said. It's not the old days, Perk, where everybody could say they were misquoted because we wouldn't know. Everything wasn't streamed the way it is now. We saw the whole thing. It wasn't necessarily misconstrued. I just think people thought it sucked. They thought it was in poor taste. I guarantee you some of his teammates did. But, to their credit, they're going to have his back. And who knows? Maybe this is the thing that galvanizes the team. Maybe this is it. Maybe somehow they come together and us against the world. And, Juice, you know this. We've seen locker rooms where the players could be dead ass wrong. There could be nothing wrong with what a media member said or nothing wrong with what a fan said. But if that's the thing that brings teams together, that allow it to be us against the world, and they start to gel and go off, then great. But something's got to change, man. They can't afford to have this week after week.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, Seth. Something like that is not going to bring the team together. It's going to divide the team more than anything, in my opinion. And if people aren't showing up for meetings, that shows a lack of respect for whoever the leadership is, whatever player it might be, whatever group it might be. I was making this point, and we talked about how you and Travis and I we're talking about, was it a group meeting in the conference room? Was it individual meeting rooms, or whatever it might be? Because those are all different things, right? Now, if Tua calls a team meeting and the whole team, some don't some come late, that's a problem right there. But that's not how it was, in my opinion. I think, from what I understand, and Perk, correct me if I'm wrong, it was really kind of breakout meetings where different groups were meeting, players only, instead of coaches sitting there doing that. And I get that. And back in the day, Seth, and you know this for a fact, back in the day, you couldn't watch film anywhere but in the building. So if you want to watch the extra film, it had to be in the building. Zach Thomas ordered breakfast, lunch, and dinner in there before they were serving it to us like they do now. Man, you can get whatever you want 24/7. They're Uber Eats and, DoorDash all day in there, But now you can take film home. So I'm wondering now, some people do have to. Seth, if Tua told you, said, yo, Seth, I need you to stay for an extra hour, you might not be able to because you might have to pick your kids up. Some people don't have that luxury. So they can talk about these players making all the money they want. But some people want to go home and watch the film on their 100-inch screen TV on their own, which they can do nowadays.
On their couch with potato chips.
On their couch with potato chips. So the fact that, they didn't show up for some of these meetings, I was just curious as to what kind of meeting was it. It was a film study, But honestly, coaches see all this stuff too, Tua didn't have to say a word. If guys are getting there right when practice or work starts and leaving right when it ends, they see all that. So just, let them handle that. But don't you ever call me out in front of a whole bunch of people. And, some of the guys that didn't show, they know what he's talking about. I was late or I didn't show up. They know exactly what he's talking about. And there might be some things thrown in the locker room, man. You know what I mean? Might be some furniture moving.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I'm laughing. I'm just saying, I'm hoping that maybe if that's the thing, they can get past it. Sam is on fire in the chat right now. He's absolutely on fire with some of these things. It can't continue to happen over and over and over again from your team leader. That's the bottom line. But I do think maybe if anything was misconstrued, it was because it was the way those meetings were detailed. But if that's all it was, then why feel that was going to be what needs to change? Like, why is that the thing that needs to change? And why do you need to share it with us? So that was, that was what was going on there.
And what I don't understand too is, for the most part, the offense executed pretty well. They did pretty good in that game.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't bad. You know what I mean? So why take the opportunity? Is he talking about the defensive side? Or who's he talking about there?
That's a great question.
What? So here's my understanding of it. So, they have these team meetings, the players only meetings. And I wrote about this in November, and this is all 53 players, and it's in a conference room, and it's called by the Leadership Council. That's one type of meeting. The type of meeting that Tua is talking about, as Juice said, is kind of like a film watching meeting about your next opponent. Happens on Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, or Friday morning. And these are meetings that Kenneth Grant told us when the D-line has been having them. They decided recently to invite coaches in because they figured they need coach input, that they were missing things. So you've got players only meetings, that's all 53, and it's called by the Leadership Council. And then you've got these film watching sessions that are just groups, the pass game.
It's just extra work. It's just extra work is what it is.
It's just extra work. And so what I don't get is if Tua, if it's, after the game, when he said players are missing these meetings or late, somebody said, just to clarify, are you saying players are missing and late? And Tua's response was late. Yeah. And it's like, so which is it? And if it's only late, why did you bring up the part about do we need to make them mandatory? Because tardiness has nothing to do with mandatory attendance. Here's the other thing about the Tua thing, not to beat it up. Tua was real quick during training camp to talk about Tyreek and how after you say something like that, you need to mend some fences in the locker room. You can't just come back. All right, Tua, like this should apply to you also.
That's a column, Burke. Why didn't you write that?
It's in today's column. It's in today's column.
I was looking. How did I miss that?
Yeah, because it's a side. It's just kind of a side issue. It's not the main thing, which from today's column of this era is going from mediocrity to failure. But but that's in there. That Tua, if this applies to Tyreek, it's got to apply to you too. Right. You probably need to mend some fences in that locker room because what you said, you can't just come back and say, hey, everything is okay.
That is fair. He didn't quit. He didn't walk off the field and sit his ass down on the bench and quit. But it still is fair. Right. He's got to be held accountable for it.
Well, so let me say this too, Big Seth and Perk and Chad and Sevach, man. There are some benefits to watching extra film. There's so many more benefits, and people don't think it. Because I'm gonna tell you guys this: we watch the same film over and over and over and over and over again all week long. We're on the field for maybe an hour and a half, but this, Big Seth, we're in the classroom watching film 4 hours a day, possibly.
More than any sport.
More than any other sport, we're watching film because you can't so you rep it mentally like that. So I'm gonna tell you, there have been times where we watch that same film over and over and over again, and then we get a eureka moment on Friday watching film. Like we missed this right here. And we utilize in the game. Might be only one play, one opportunity, or one thing. I'll give you an example. We're watching film, and Marino and Fryer, we're all watching film, and New England was coming with this like little weak side corner blitz. And Dan's like, you know what we can do right here? He said, when they're doing this weak side corner blitz, Irv, just keep running because they're bringing the safety down hard. Guys that we're watching play, they're running slants, they're running quick outs, they're running hitches. He said, just keep running and I'll take this hit. And sure as hell against New England, they bring that little weak side corner blitz, that little bullshit blitz. Danny hangs in there, safety comes down, and he hits Irvin for a long touchdown, man. So there's a benefit to watching that extra film because you never know how one play can be the difference in that whole game.
Hey, Juice, real quick, can you give us an idea? Because a lot of people who are watching are in corporate America, and they're like, damn, we have meeting after meeting after meeting. Y'all, NFL, you have meeting after meeting after meeting. So in a normal day, right, maybe you report to work at whatever, 8 a.m. There might be a team meeting. Then you might have position meetings, practice. You're going to meet after practice. And then you might tell us about how many meetings you have on a normal day or on a normal NFL week. It's a lot of meeting time.
Yeah, we meet way more than Congress does today. I promise you that, man. You know what I mean? We do, man. You get there, you open up with a meeting. It's always that way, man. Then you might break down in position meetings, like a breakdown meeting. You might go to lunch at that point. You'll meet after lunch. You go practice, come back and watch that film again. You know, it's meetings. It's a lot of film work. If you notice any coaches, you look at all the coaches in the league, they all wear glasses, man. Right. Because they've been watching so much film all the time. They might have readers on, but all their eyes are messed up, bro. Because all you do is watch film, and that's the key, man. Right. And most teams go back, 4 games. That's the norm. Mike Westhoff, special teams coach, he said, "Yo, OJ, I'm gonna go back. We're gonna go back, do stuff 6 games ago because I know they only watch 4 games. That was always his game plan because teams only watch 4 games usually. And so, yeah, Perk, you're right, man. It's all about the mental reps. Then you have the walkthrough somewhere in there, and then of course you go out there and practice. But you can't practice at full speed a lot of times, towards the end of the week. But you're right, bro. Everything is about meetings. And I'm tell you this: the guys that pay attention to meetings are the ones that get the rock from your quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he needs very time.
That's it.
That's why I need. Now, Jalen Phillips, I guess, is in the locker room, and basically, he didn't say this, but he basically was like, "Hit dog gonna holler," right? Like he's like, "If you got a problem with it, you're probably the one who was late."
Correct.
So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
And I'll tell you this: I talked to Jack Jones, who is becoming one of my favorites. Now, when you talk to Jack Jones, there's going to be S-bombs and F-bombs and everything, because that's just how Jack communicates. But Jack was like, F an apology is already out there, and he was very sympathetic to Tua. I'll say that before I start. But that was just his attitude. He was like, "Look, Tua is our leader. We need him to be our leader." He said, "If this happens again, then maybe it's a problem." But Jack kind of like acted like this is a one-off, and I'm willing to forgive and forget. Let's move ahead and focus on beating Cleveland. I did talk to players on and off the record. Players were irritated by this, but it doesn't sound like anybody is going to, hold this against Tua long term. That they're, a couple of guys are irritated.
Yeah.
But they're capable of moving on. So it's as long as Tua doesn't offend the team again, I think it's going to be okay largely.
Perk, here's the thing about it too. Tua has the opportunity. Honestly, instead of calling the team out in front of the whole world, he could have called his team out in front of the whole team. He really could have if he wanted to. He has the cachet on that football team to stand up in a whole team meeting room. And Seth, you remember Jimmy Johnson used to have team meetings for everybody in the building to be there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Everybody in the building was in some of these teams at that first meeting of the week. Everybody in the building was in there. But say it was just a team meeting with coaches and players, Tua has the opportunity to honestly stand up after Mike says whatever he has to say and say, "Fellas, look, we need to put in some extra film work. We need to do a little bit extra because we're still missing some of this. We're still doing some of that." You know what I mean? So I know Tua was in there early. We saw the footage of him being there when it's still dark, and I'm sure he stays late. That's what quarterbacks do. But call your teammates out in front of the whole team without pointing any fingers or saying any names, instead of going on the national media where, like Seth said, every single sports show and then some. There's board meetings. I'm sure Chad and them in his law office are talking about what you don't do. You know what I mean? That's like, you don't do this. You don't call people out like that in public like that, man. So he's a guy. Now, I'm not talking about the guy that's fifth string DB that probably sleeps in the back of the meeting room. He can't stand up and say shit. But Tua can stand up in front of all these people, man, and make his announcement there, instead of, just letting it be a frustrating loss and then lick your wounds and then keep it moving.
And you know what it overshadows? Because I had just written a column about how Tua has not shown any magic. He scored 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, that he led them. I think he was 8 for 8 on that last drive for 67 yards passing, and it all gets overshadowed. Granted, they lost. But
Perk, I was going to say, you know what overshadowed that was the friggin' 41-yard kick return, and then and then Herbert shaking off half the Dolphins defense to throw. Yeah, that's what really overshadowed it. But I'm with you.
By the way, let me throw in a quick shout out to Dante Trader Jr., the rookie safety who stood and answered questions after the game and said that I should have tackled McConkey, that's on me. And my point is, you guys know there's a lot of guys who no comment. I'm not talking about it. This was a rookie who stood and answered every damn question. A couple of weeks ago, I'm talking to Dante Trader. I'm like, man, I love the way you stick your head in there. He was like, I ain't scared of nobody. I like that kid's attitude. I'm not saying he's a future Pro Bowler, but he stood and delivered as a rook. And I was asking vets, does this square with your opinion of Trader? And a couple of them, like Sealer, were like, you wouldn't even know that this guy is a rook. He studies, he pays attention, he asks questions. So I want to give props to Trader again for being a grown-ass man. That was next level stuff that he did.
That is, Perk. You're not wrong, man. Seth, you know this. We've seen dudes sneak out the back door.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Well, it happens a lot these days, but
they sneak out the back door, you know what I mean, getting their whips and they're out, you know what I mean? So that's what it's all about, man, because honestly, if Trader made the pick right there, he guaranteed he'd be, in front of the cameras. But the fact that he didn't make the tackle, he stood in front of cameras, and that's being professional right there, bro.
Yeah. I agree. But in the old days, Juice, I don't know what it's like now, but you talk about leadership. You guys, and as you said, we've seen some people sneak out the back. You guys would send me out in the parking lot to try and drag their ass back in.
Right.
I remember, I won't call out names as to who, but I remember guys like Ricky and JT saying, why do I have to now go answer for what he didn't do?
Right.
That's it. You can't stand up there and be the hero if you're not going to stand up there.
Seth, you know me, man. I'll let somebody know, man. I probably would have taken a few L's. If we'd have gotten the fights, I might have taken a few L's, but they'd be worth it for me.
Last thing I want to say on the Tua stuff, because we've talked a lot about how it impacted his teammates. And there's one guy who has had Tua's back from day one, literally from day one, on the plane, flying in here when he got the job, and that was Mike McDaniel. And he Mike McDaniel had to deal with that in real time, in the moment. I don't know what the process is like now. When I worked for the team, the head coach would speak first, then the quarterback, or open locker room if the quarterback didn't want to go to the podium. But Mike McDaniel apparently speaks after Tua, so he has to walk up there. I imagine someone whispered in his ear, "Hey, coach, Tua just said this." But here's a guy who had to sit up at a press conference after a disappointing 2024 season and talk about having fines don't work. I have not found a way to get my guys to come to work on time. And then he's dealt with it all off season. Everything we talked about with culture stemmed from that press conference. And then now he's got to go up there and say, "Hey, not my meetings. The guys are at my meetings. I don't know what meetings he's calling. That shit. Hey, hey, Mr. Ross, not my meetings." So his head coach had to deal with that. And you have never heard Mike McDaniel not have Tua's back. And so I think that had to be frustrating for a guy who's got to be dying 1,000 deaths. Anyway, we're halfway through the damn show. We've only talked about Tua. Let's jump to the next bullet point, as if things couldn't get worse. Who's running back for the Browns? Doesn't matter. Can the run game get fixed? If it's not the inside of the line, we're not setting the edge. What the hell is going on with the run defense? We had the same conversation last week. Can it get, and when I say fixed, I'm not saying that they're going to all of a sudden become the doomsday defense, but can we stop the friggin' bleeding? Juice, what do you think?
Man, it's so crazy to me. It doesn't matter who they put in the backfield, man. Seth, I told you could probably run for 150 on this team right now. You know what I mean? And make it look pretty easy.
I might pull a
We go back to Carolina. Carolina had backup running back, went for over 200. We thought Haskins, and I don't know if this is true, Perk. I thought Haskins was going to be the bell cow for these guys last week, but it was Vidal who went for, 18 carries for 124. We can't stop anybody right now in the middle, man. And I love that, I love that Kenneth Grant Perk is asking coach to come to the meetings because we need everybody to come and see what the hell is going on,
Exactly.
because that's where we're getting destroyed at on the inside like that, man. So, can we? I'm sure we can, bro. I mean, we got to figure out a way. But look, Britt came in and led the team in tackles now. We've known that, our linebackers every single week, Brooks every single week, when Dotson was in there, these dudes, they're ranked in the top in the league because these guys up front can't keep people off of them, man. And so can we?
Yeah.
I hope the hell we can, but have we? We obviously haven't. So I just hope at some point they put our opposing team in tough down and distances, because if their ability to run on first and second down is killing us, and then any other team can do whatever they want. The teams are going for it on fourth down, on their own. They don't care when they're on 4th and 1, 3rd and 1. Who cares? Because it's so many manageable down and distances because our defense is not putting them in tough situations.
Yeah, you're going to see a bunch of Quinshon Judkins, running the ball, and that's the number one matchup of the game is their running game against the Dolphins' run defense. As much as I would like to think Patrick Paul against Myles Garrett is the number one matchup of the game, it's going to be the Dolphins' run defense against Cleveland's running game, and they have got to come up with some answers. I'll tell y'all this. That I was in the locker room last week, and I was, kind of researching a column about how this team has a good fighting spirit and they never quit. And there's guys on this team who have been through the 5-game losing streak in 2022 and been through the 2-6 last year and the 6-3, bounce back. And so I'm looking around the locker room about guys I can go talk to, and I'm seeing Brunskill. And I'm seeing, James Daniels, who is injured, and I'm seeing KG, and I'm seeing Jonah, and I'm seeing all these guys who have been here for 1 or 2 years. And I had talked to Jalen Waddle about it, but then I was like, man, this is kind of bizarre. And so I was talking to a defensive player today, and I said, I know you guys don't want to make excuses, but is it a factor that this defense was basically thrown together, that the DBs came in at the last minute? You've got some young guys up front. And the guy looked at me and he goes, that's probably a good way to put it, that it's not an excuse, but it's a factor. And he wasn't making an excuse. I don't want to get it twisted. But this defense, this whole team has kind of just been thrown together, it feels like. I don't know how much unity. Now, some other guys told me, no, it feels like a team. It feels like a normal team. I just don't know. And when you talk about run defense or communication or knowing how the guy next to you is going to play, I do think it's a small factor. Now, again, it's not an excuse, and it's not the reason the run defense has underperformed, but I do think that it's a factor. And can you fix that real quick? I don't know. I don't know. But this whole defense has issues ranging from tackling to run fits to familiarity. I hope coaching is not a factor because I love Weave, but this defense has a lot of problems.
Well, that's not very promising.
No, it's not, man. And they do. You're right. Honestly, Perk, I think it really boils down to that. As the missed tackles continue to pile up, it's going to be. I don't know what you do. How do you fix that? Because you're not going to tackle in practice. You can't practice. You never tackle in practice. Only time you tackle is in games. Jimmy Johnson had us going live. He had them dudes going live, but not us, man. But these guys, there's some bad missed tackles. Jalen on the play that got him in field goal range, JP's missed tackle was the biggest one of them. Yeah.
Juice is tackling desire, technique, coaching. What mostly goes into tackling?
Man, bringing your feet, man. Bringing your feet. Stop reaching, run through people. Bottom line, bring your feet, stop reaching, run through people. We had some tackling situations where people trying to punch it out before somebody's wrapped up too. That's the last thing you do. Right. Once somebody's wrapped up, then you can punch. You can't punch before somebody's wrapped up, but you got to bring your feet. You know what I mean? You gotta bring your feet and wrap up, man. I think our guys are reaching way too much and not getting there. You got to get there before you can tackle. And that's been.
And you know what I've always heard about defense in every sport, or pretty much every sport, defense is played with your feet. Correct. Basketball, baseball, volleyball, tennis, that you've got to put your body in position that when you're reaching and using your arms, that's too late. Defense is mostly played with your feet.
Absolutely. Sports are played with your feet. In general, man, sports in general, it starts with base and balance and all that stuff, man. Like, look, these dudes been doing this for a long time. They should know how to fucking tackle.
Well, that's the bottom line, isn't it? I mean, like, you can't be this bad. I don't understand it. I know that when I don't know if it was Omar who asked Weave during that violence presser that he talked about. He asked him, "Are your run fits? Is there an issue with your run fits?" And he was not happy to hear that question. Man, I just saw Brian Baldinger today talking about. He goes, "What's worse than awful?" Because that's the Miami Dolphins run fits. Mm-hmm. Like, if everybody's seeing this on film, I don't understand how it happens week in and week out.
And I don't know what style we play. Perk, maybe you can help me because I don't watch. I watch the game, but I really don't watch. Are we a 2-gap up front? Are we a 1-gap? How do we play our defensive fronts? Are these guys 2-gapping?
A two gap, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if it's that you don't trust your teammate to do the right thing, so now I have to do his job also, and you get burned. It might be a lack of trust. I don't know what it is, but man, this defense is the run defense is just terrible. I mean, it's ass. Let's
Tell
it's
him,
ass. It is.
Is that in your column today too?
That was not. That
should have been. Save that for the live. Thank you for that. Oh, too good.
So, real quick, Seth, while we're all, all sad about what our Dolphins are doing, let's give Chad a second to gloat about his first place Steelers real quick. I want y'all to know, just because y'all love Chad, he's a Steeler fan. I want to put him on blast real quick.
Hey, I just want to give a shout out for you guys giving us the best Dolphins. We took the best Dolphins and we gave Minka back, and and I guess Minka's playing out of position again, so maybe he needs to be.
Mute him, please mute him.
You the one that made him get started. Dude, you created this.
Bob, you got the button, man. Mute his ass.
Hey, somebody bring back Jeff Saturday, okay? All right, we're going to move on from the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's for sure. I'm going to skip ahead. I know we've got kind of the rundown, but just in the interest of time. So the trade rumors started popping up today. Yeah. And, we heard Jalen Phillips, or read, I should say, Jalen Phillips. We read Bradley Chubb. People started talking about Achane and Waddle. I think that's, to me, a little bit crazy. I don't even know if the sources were credible. Perk, what are you hearing? Are you hearing anything? And do you even think that they should be making moves? Because my larger, regardless of who we're talking about, when a team is 1-5, in the 4th year of a regime, in the 9th or 10th year of a general manager, and there's questions about leadership, and I'm not talking about leadership in the Tua wants to make mandatory player-only meetings. I'm talking about, the head coach, the general manager. Should they also still have the keys to trading and draft picks and, unloading some of the talented young players that you have on your roster? Like, that concerns me until you've made a final decision, unless Stephen Ross has already made his decision, which I think would be premature, till you've made a final decision as to what you're going to do there. Do you give those guys? I think you kind of take away the trade card.
No, I agree with you, Seth. And here to me is the bigger thing is that you need to have an overarching idea of what do you try to get accomplished here. You don't want to give away all the talent, Achane and Waddle and Phillips and Chubb, because how are you going to attract a new GM and a new head coach? So you have to kind of have a plan. When we go after the new GM and head coach, are we going to say, well, we've got you a quarterback and a running back and a receiver and a bunch of draft picks, and it's up to you to rebuild the defense? Or do you want to tell them, defensively, we're going to give you Storm Duck and Zach Sealer and Kader Kohu and Minka Fitzpatrick, and you fill in the gaps? Or are you going to tell them we're going to empty out the cupboard and you fill in every gap? you've also got to know when you hire a new GM and head coach, what is your 3-year plan? Because I don't think you can really have more than a 3-year plan. But do you plan on being in a Super Bowl in 3 years, in the playoffs, a playoff win? Like, you've got to have a starting point and just a big general idea. You can't be specific in October or November, but you need to have a general idea of what you want this team to look like when and if there's a handoff to the next administration.
Perk, what do you think is working for this team? Tell me what, because there's a lot that's not. What do you think is working for this team that you think that we stay right there and then do something else elsewhere?
Nothing as a group. There's some individuals that are working, right? Patrick Paul, Devon Achane. How much further does the list go?
Yeah, we got I guess roster, dog. The roster's 53 people. You stopped at 2 people?
Right. I got Waller and Waddle are working.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, there's some. Jordan Brooks is working. But there's more disappointment. And that's the thing, like the run defense and the edge rushers and everything. Like, just everything is a disappointment with this team. And that's what I can't really wrap my mind around. You guys know I picked this team to be 9-8, which I considered mediocrity.
Yeah.
But they're not even going to be 9-8. I mean, there's just nothing working for this damn team. I mean, you have the 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and like Seth said, you give up the 40-yard kickoff return, then Jalen Phillips can't get Herbert on the ground, and Trader can't make the tackle. I mean, it's different, so many different things, right? The tackling and the setting the edge on the run or being tough and standing stout in those gaps as a D tackle. Like, there's so many things that aren't working. Your youngsters, KG and Sevach and Naya. I don't know where this team. I don't know what this team is going to look like a month from now, because there's nothing that's working good enough to say, okay, they should win 3 of the next 4 games. It's a mystery. It's really a mystery.
Perk, we're going to get to 8-9, 9-8, man, because that's what we do, man. We win the games and we don't want to win. We're going to be picking in the middle of the draft. It's just the norm for us, bro. We're going to find a way to win some games we don't want to win. Get to the point we're like, damn, now we're picking, 16th again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's just the way we roll, man.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, 5 of the last 11 opponents have a losing record, including 1-5 Baltimore.
So that is interesting that you brought that up. Like, if you look at the teams, and I'm not making excuses, because 4 of the 5 losses were games that they had an opportunity to win. But you go look at the teams that the Colts are 5-1, right? Buffalo 4-2, Patriots are 4-2.
Yep.
All these, the Chargers. There's all the teams they've played. Now, it doesn't hurt that they had a chance to play us in each of those games, but all the teams that the Dolphins have played, for the most part, have pretty darn good records. And so I was like, are they as bad as we think they are? But then I decided I'm not going to ask that question.
Don't ask that one.
They are as bad as we think they are. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to roll into my favorite segment. It's the I Tried to Tell Y'all segment. These are getting a little trickier week after week, because I don't think anybody tried to tell us we're going to be 1-5 at this stage of the season. But here we are. OJ McDuffie, what'd you try to tell us?
You know what, y'all? I tried to tell y'all that, I've been asking for Tua to show up in the fourth quarter. I really have. And I'm trying to tell you that he actually did on this Sunday. I can't bitch about him not finishing games, and not give him flowers when he does. Yeah. Tua went 21 for 32 for 205 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. But what I'm really trying to tell y'all is that I don't blame Tua for any of the interceptions. Pick number 1 squarely on Waddle. I think we can all agree on that. Pick number 2, I blame on 3 people. 1, I blame Coach McDaniel. I'm gonna tell you why I blame Coach McDaniel. He thinks that Achane is a wide receiver. He cannot run wide receiver routes. He can't. Now.
Okay.
Got that? So he runs a square in. He drifts upfield. It gets undercut. Now, granted, the ball was behind him and late, but if he squares that off, the worst it could be is a PBU. That's it, right? So that's the next one. So,
but Juice, you just said behind and late.
But,
I'm sorry, you finished.
But it doesn't become a pick, though, Big Seth. It doesn't. We're talking about the pick itself. It doesn't become a pick. It becomes, at worst, like I said, if you let me finish, a PBU, right? All right. Right. And then the last pick, of course, was a nothing burger. It was nothing. I mean, we're trying to make something happen. I'm not going to give him that last one. So I've asked him to show up in the fourth quarter. He did. 2 drives. Perk talked about it in the fourth quarter. Put his team ahead with less than a minute to go. So, and some will bitch to be like, well, he scored too fast. I mean, you're never going to win with some of these motherfuckers. You know what I mean? And that's for the true haters. But I don't and didn't like his post-game press conference that we talked about, and we talked about maybe possibly throwing hands. But still, though, man, he absolutely did what I've been asking him to do, go in the fourth quarter and give us a chance to win. That's what I tried to tell y'all.
Well, you definitely did try to tell us that. So, did the question come up? Okay, no. David asked, should Waddle have tried to overhand that ball? I'm not sure which ball. Is he talking about on the interception?
What ball?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, I know what you're talking about. That's an indecision place. I hate that. That pass is the toughest ball. The one that's right here, you go overhand or underhand, and when you're indecisive, that's when you don't catch it correctly. That happens all the time for receivers. So you'd rather it be lower or higher, nitpicking, but when it's right there, that's a tough ball right there, even though he obviously should have made the catch. What I'd have done, I would have Michael Irvin that thing, man, and jumped up and caught it with everything. You know what I mean? Just catch it. Don't be too cute with it, man. Just get up, catch it with everything on your body. So that's a tough position all the time.
In pain. Michael Irvin said Playmaker was doing that in pain. Chris Perkins, what did you try to tell us?
I tried to tell y'all that this team has a fighting spirit. Now, look, this isn't a very good team, but they don't quit. They haven't quit on Mike McDaniel. They haven't quit on each other. I've written about this in the past that, look, these guys are going to keep coming back. Again, they're not very good, but we saw them come back last week, right? Just 14-point fourth quarter after entering the fourth quarter down by 13. We see them fighting against New England, against Buffalo. We didn't see them fight against Indy, but they don't quit. I do admire that about this team, that they will keep going. They will keep playing. Again, this is more a talent issue than a quitting issue. They have not quit on Mike McDaniel. They have not quit on each other. I don't think they are going to quit on Mike McDaniel or quit on each other. I admire that about this team. Again, I thought they were going to be mediocre this year at 9-8, but even as I talked to them today, they're still kind of convinced, well, we can make something happen. I mean, they know they're not going to the Super Bowl, but I still see some desire and some want to in them. I don't think this team is ever going to quit. I criticize Mike McDaniel for a lot of things, but he does have a team full of fighters. I tried to tell y'all, these guys aren't going to quit.
Okay. I like that.
And he did. I read that column. That was a good column.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, I tried to tell y'all not to give up on Julian Hill. And I get it. Some of you just weren't ready to hear this because last year was a rough one for Julian. Shoot, before we could even evaluate his play, it was impossible to get past all of the penalties early last season. Just 6 games into 2024, Hill had amassed 8 penalties, including 4 in Seattle alone. I think few of them were on special teams, Juice, but that was a frustrating one. But guess what? He only had one more penalty after that Seattle game. He only had one more penalty the rest of the season. And you know how many he has this year? Not a damn one. Okay.
Oh, he plays for the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's right. He's playing Kansas City Chiefs ball. Not a single Hey, Perk, put the damn flag back in your pocket. He doesn't have a single penalty. And on top of this, Hill has been a force in the running game. He's no longer a liability in the passing game. And this past week, we even saw he could be an asset. He made a couple critical catches on those scoring drives in the fourth quarter comeback. And I am not here trying to tell you that Julian Hill won't ever commit a penalty again. I am not trying to tell you that he won't get beaten badly on a block or that he's going to be, the next Tony Gonzalez. But I'm saying that he's tough and he's physical and he's got a little nasty and probably has as much of that as any Miami Dolphin on the roster. He's a lunch pail guy that he's going to show up to work each and every day, and it matters to him. And I can't say it. It doesn't feel like it matters to everybody on that roster, at least not to me. But you can tell that it matters to Julian Hill. And I'll tell you what else I love about this guy. He played for the Campbell Fighting Campbells. The friggin' Camels, Juice. Okay? So, think about that. And guys, you know this. Not everybody on the roster had the red carpet rolled out for him. Not everybody can be a highly touted first-round draft pick who gets flown in on the private jet. Not everybody. Some people come up on the wrong side of the tracks, Juice. I'm just hit dog in a holler, Juice. I don't know why you're reacting like this. I'm just saying, not everybody knows that they're not going to get cut just because of their draft pedigree. Some guys, like Julian Hill, get knocked on their ass. They have to get back up. That's what he has done from last year to this year. I tried to tell y'all not to give up on Julian Hill, and I'm glad that the Miami Dolphins haven't done so.
And I would tell you guys as well that he's an awesome dude, man. You know what I mean? I saw him doing some camps with some kids. Dude is he's about that, man. He appreciates his position, man. Still humble as pie, you know what I mean? But now he's starting to play like we didn't see Big Seth, in terms of like what the team saw. Now with some of the other guys that the team sees some value in going out there and doing what the fans are like, oh, you got to get rid of Julian Hill. You got to get rid of this guy. You got to get rid of that guy. I'm glad that you told us that not to give up on him, man, because he's been balling. You're right, bro.
So there.
Look, let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all something about Julian Hill and kind of one of the little BS challenges of my job. So I found out how Julian Hill grew up. It was rough. Like his mom was on drugs, and you guys probably know the story, going from house to house, everything like that. His sophomore year of high school, he played quarterback in high school. He had an ACL tear. He missed most of that season. He missed his entire senior season because he had another ACL tear. So that's why he ended up going to Campbell. But he's very active in the community. He sponsors kids. When they played Carolina, he's from Fayetteville area. He sponsored like 25 kids, and he spent Saturday with those kids. So and the thing is, I talked to him about this last week, and I want to run this column, but I know with the tone of the times now, people are so negative, and the Tua thing, if I wrote it, oh, screw you, Perk, we don't want to read about Julian Hill. So I'm trying to find the right time to tell some good stories about this team when they have a victory and people want to read good stuff. So that's, the BS
Perk,
challenges of being a journalist.
Don't be scared.
So I know. Right, but he's a good dude, man. I want to tell his story, but I have to time it correctly. But he's a good man. He is conscientious, and I discovered that talking to him last year. He gives a damn about committing penalties, and he really cared, and he tried to get it corrected. But he's got an incredible story. Hopefully the Dolphins will win a couple of games, and I can tell it when people are receptive to reading good stories about the Dolphins.
Yeah, best thing about him, Perkins, his story is evergreen. It's always going to be there, bro. You know what I mean? You can always put in the can and then pull it out whenever you want to, my brother.
I wouldn't hold on to no story too long. I'll tell you that much. Get it out there when you can. Well, that's I tried to tell y'all, which means it's our final segment here on Fish Tank Live, and it is time for the Van Horn Law Legal Zone, otherwise known as Chris Perkins has some shit going on in his condo. I'm just going to open up if you're in the chat, go ahead and drop your legal questions for us, please. Chad Van Horn is ready to answer them. But Perk, you know that the floor is always yours when it's time for the legal zone.
All right, Chad. So here's what I want to know. We're in hurricane season, and here's what I've always wondered. So, I've got shutters on my place, and I live in an 8-story condo, 120 units. What if there was a hurricane that came through and one of my neighbors did not have shutters, and the wind blows down his door, and the wind gets into the building, and it whips around, and it blows down my front door, and I've got water damage and wind damage? Who the hell pays for this, Chad? Is it the neighbor? Is it my insurance, the building insurance? Why doesn't this dumbass have shutters?
The condo association.
Well, actually, the association could require shutters. So basically, it comes down to the individual policy. So if the policy is going to cover, obviously, it's probably not going to be large enough of a policy to cover the entire building. So then it would fall back on the association if they were unable to pay. And then eventually, unfortunately, it would fall back to you, Chris, because it always comes back to you, and you would end up having to pay. So I've seen things like that happen in apartment buildings as well as condos, where somebody leaves the bathtub on, and if you don't have the proper insurance, the water goes through all the units below. You have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. Right. And then what that apartment holder or the condo unit holder ends up filing bankruptcy, and it leaves everybody else to clean up the mess. So so you need to pick a better neighbors, maybe a better building. I don't know.
Sounds like better back to the building.
I love my view, Chad.
I know that's right. Hey, Chad, I have a question, man. Chad, I've seen a lot of the local restaurants and businesses, and man, they've been shutting down or filing for bankruptcy. So let's talk about small business reorganization, for them to reorganize. Can the business still live and live on stronger than ever? Or, take for example, like Red Lobster, not necessarily a small business, but what are your thoughts on like small business bankruptcy?
Yeah, Red Lobster, Florida-based out of Orlando, had some friends that worked on that case, and it was an extremely successful case. And I represent many small businesses locally, and we put them through the Chapter 11. And there's a sub-Chapter 5, Chapter 11, which is specifically designed for small businesses. And what it's designed to do is really fix your balance sheet and make sure that the income that's coming in is enough to be able to pay your debts. So what I'm seeing, a lot of businesses got over-leveraged during COVID because they took out the SBA loans. Obviously, revenues were significantly down. And all those debts are coming due right now. And unless the revenues went up significantly, you might not have the monthly cash flow to pay off those debts. That's a perfect situation for a Chapter 11 because we can put that budget together. We can actually reduce the amount of debt that the business needs to pay back over a 3 to 5 year period. And most importantly, you get to keep your business alive.
Nice. There it is. By the way, Sam has started a nasty rumor that Perk is secretly the landlord in that condo. So just something to know. All right, Andrew. Oh, where did it go? Throw Andrew's comment back up there again. I was just about to read it. I lost it. Okay. Andrew wants to know, how loose should I make the bolts on my screen porch to ensure I get a new one on the next hurricane?
So that is called insurance fraud.
And he just admitted it right now, right?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
All right, so we'll skip to the next. We'll skip to the next one. How many legal trade shows, conferences does Chad go to annually, and what do they talk about in said conferences? And when is Perk going to be the keynote speaker?
Yeah, I need to take Perk with me. Actually, that would be a fun segment.
That would be great.
I go to about 5 to 10 per year, and I talk about anything from mentorship to building law firms to building businesses to how to protect your assets, and of course bankruptcy and corporate reorganization. So I enjoy giving back, and I've been doing this for almost 2 decades exclusively. So I love talking about the different stories. I actually had a lot of people calling in, and I think it's the Perk effect. This week, I had a lot of people calling in with associations. I want to sue my association. How do I remove people from the board? So this is definitely the fish tank Perk effect that I'm getting all these condo association calls. So I appreciate all you guys.
You might be getting the wrong type of brand awareness here in the live for sure. Okay, well, we can shift gears. David wants to know. Where to go, David? Let's get this one up here. Can Chad help with the Finns pre-snap penalties, illegal procedure, illegal shift? What about illegal hands to the face? I don't know that he's practicing that kind of law.
Somebody actually asked, can we put the Dolphins into bankruptcy? And if you put the Dolphins into bankruptcy, you can actually get rid of the contracts. So that is one of the things. So if there's some bad contracts, I'm not saying that Tua is a bad contract. You can get rid of that through bankruptcy. I mean, there definitely are some consequences that you might not want to deal with going into bankruptcy too. But hey, there are options out there.
They'll make you sell the team, Chad. They'll make him sell the team.
All right, here's Sam is apparently working on his next set. He is a stand-up comedian. He wants to know what your favorite lawyer joke is.
What do they call a lawyer at the bottom of the ocean? A good start.
There it is.
Hey, make sure we get Laverne's question up, Chad. If someone has an eviction, can filing bankruptcy help?
Yeah, so we see a lot of this in the corporate world as well, where your business is being evicted for not paying rent, obviously, and it can stop that, and it can give you time to repay that rent over time, so you don't lose your space. Also, for an individual, it can help buy you some time so that you can move, and if you have other debt, or you can try to make up those payments over time. So if you have an event where you miss a month or two of rent and you end up in eviction, the Chapter 13 reorganization or the Chapter 11 can buy you time so that you can make up payments. So it can be, in the right circumstance, used to help you with your eviction.
So Shake hears that Perk has been showing up late to tenants only meetings. Maybe that's why things are going to hell at that condo. So maybe that's what, if we start making those mandatory, maybe things will get cleaned up there. And then who knows what the hell he'll ask here in the Van Horn Law Group.
Hey, Big Seth, he's watching them via Zoom at home, man. He doesn't have to be there in person. He's got it on. He's watching it on.
Hey, Perk.
I'm eating potato chips on the couch, Shake. What, Shake? Why you put me on blast like you're Tua? Come on,
Perk.
Shake.
Hey, Perk, I need you to DM. I'm going to show up to your condo association meetings. Maybe I'll live stream from there if it's at the right time. So I'll be in the tank at the association meeting.
We got something going right here. We got something going here.
So I have a question for Chad, but it's a non-legal question. And we've never sat down and had these conversations. But for those of you who don't know, Chad was also on, and tell me the right name, it was the reality version of the Squid Games. What was the show called?
Squid Game, The Challenge.
The Challenge. So how long were you there? Because you said you finished, you told us last week.
Top 10.
Top 10.
So how long were you there filming? And then there's a perception that reality TV is all, they kind of create drama for the drama. But like, how competitive was it really?
Yeah, so I was there for about a month. And the first game that we played was called Red Light, Green Light. And this will show you how competitive it really is. When they tested out this show, they used, stagehands and different people. And it's 30 degrees, and you have to go about 110 yards. And when it says red light, you stop, and you can't move for 10 to 20 minutes, right? Ooh. So it was pretty intense.
At 30 degrees?
Yeah. At 30 degrees. There were people having seizures. There was a Navy SEAL next to me, a retired Navy SEAL. He said, "This is the toughest thing I've ever done in my life." That's when I was rethinking what I was doing being on the show. And so it took them 2 to 3 hours to get to the number that they want to. It took 8 hours because people just would not quit. I mean, people were legitimately passing out before they quit because you didn't get food, you didn't get water, you didn't get bathroom breaks. And that was our introduction to the show. We had 456 competitors, and about 200 survived to the end. And it took 8 hours of filming. And they didn't show it because there were some lawsuits that came out of that because people really got hurt. But obviously, you sign all our rights away.
Right.
So I honestly didn't even review the contract because I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah. And Seth, I'm going to tell you this, man. Chad told me he was going away. I was like, damn, going away? What'd you do wrong?
No. I was getting locked up in illegal business practices.
He's going on vacation. Like, I heard.
You don't want your lawyer telling you
my
he's going
friends
away.
went on vacation. They didn't come back for a while. You know what I mean?
You start rethinking all the work that he might have done for you.
Yeah, man. So it was crazy. It was crazy that, when he was able finally to tell us what he was doing. And then it was even crazier to watch it once they had filmed it all and he came back home. He came back like 30 pounds lighter because they don't feed him over there either. Like no nutrition. Like it was crazy, And that was like, and the best thing about it was Chad was, number 286, I call him when we got back. He's number 286. His best friend in the show won the whole thing. And they've been back here having reunion get-togethers, courtesy of Van Horn Law, man. So it's been really cool to be a part of that as well.
So cool.
Totally loves it.
My daughter was a big fan of the show, and she loved watching. She was so upset when you were eliminated from the show. She was so upset, but it was cool for her to finally meet you at one of our charity events. So that was awesome. Great stuff. All right, last question we have in the Van Horn Law Group.
Real quick, for that last question, man, I got to give a big shout out to Miami Hops 305, man. My Merino with the Zubas. Represent glass, man. Seth, I got one for you from them too. Drunken Dolphin. This what's up right here, bro. Like I said, it was just ginger ale. mixed with something, but it's okay.
No Mountain Dew. No Mountain
Dew.
All right, Sam's
I'll be up all night
question.
on Dew.
Strangest marketing campaign you have had promoting your own practice?
That's simple. One time I got talked into it was this podcast about the Dolphins, and they said it was going to be really good. We were very positive. We're going to talk about a winning record and talk about all these positive things. And as I said earlier, the happiest thing that we talk about is bankruptcy.
Mute him.
But it's been good for business. I've actually had to hire a whole separate condo association wing at my firm, so it's really working out for me. So we're good. We're all good.
Perk is like when LeBron James.
I'm happy to serve.
LeBron James, the entire economy is impacted when LeBron James is playing in your home city. That's Chris Perkins in the legal field. When he moves into a condo near you. Too good.
That's it. I'm helping law firms. Not one, not two, not three, not four. That's right.
I love it. Perk's talents have been on South Beach for quite some time. Well, that has been it for Fish Tank Live. At least we're having a good time. I put this out on Twitter and everybody lost their damn mind because I guess not everybody's as excited about Dolphins football as we are.
I am, Big Seth.
Yeah.
Let's go, man.
You know my theory on that. My theory on that, man.
And I had the roughest weekend ever with football, so I'm back to my boys right now, man. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, I talked to your boy Chop Robinson too. He's torn up about James Franklin. That's after I talked to OG about Mike Gundy being gone at Oklahoma State. I should say Ollie Gordon, not OG. That's Rondé Gadsden.
Yeah.
I talked to Ollie Gordon. So, two guys with their college coaches gone this year.
Hey, put up or shut up, man. A lot of money put down there, man. My boy Terry Smith. Hey, Chad, tell him about Terry Smith, our interim.
Yeah, T. Smalls. Terry Smith was actually my high school football coach.
Oh, wow.
So, believe it or not, he was the OG in my little hood. Shout out Garden City. Him and his brother were my mentors growing up, him and Harvey, because obviously they were legends. They went D1. And they were fantastic. So shout out to Terry, the whole family. I know whatever he touches, man, he makes it work. So, and I know that was one of Juice's teammates. So it's a super small world.
Chad broke his scoring record, Big Seth.
I did in basketball. I couldn't touch him in football. But basketball, he always blames it on the 3-point. He blames it on the 3-point line. It's not my fault. You're old.
I would too.
Not my fault. He's old.
We didn't have one in high school, so I get it.
That's right. Too funny. Good stuff. Well, fellas, as always, it's been a pleasure. Perk, next week we'll try to get you back with the in landscape mode here. I don't know what he's got going on over there.
Yeah. Perk's on the balcony.
Having some technical difficulties.
So good. Well, see who you can sue next week on that deal. Great stuff. Juice, get us out of here, man.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for diving in.